Hey up. I was doing a bit of early morning research 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, not quite sure what it was to be honest. And I came across an article by Radapart saying that in 2022 Royal Enfield's motorcycle sales were up by 140 something %, which is huge. Then yesterday morning I came across another article stating that in October of this year, that's last month, saying that Royal Enfield sales were up by over 80%. Now, I'm presuming that that figure is actually part of the figure that I quoted earlier on. I don't think it's on top of that. I mean, it'd be great if it was. But in October 2022, Royal Enfield sold 74,000 motorcycles and some change. That's about 5,000 units higher than Triumph's hopeful projected sales for the entire year 2022 in just 1 month. What was interesting was that the 350cc category was by far the biggest group in those sales, with the 650s and the Himalayan holding a smaller sort of share of those figures, although it was still respectable. And get this, those massive 350cc sales were not all restricted to the home Indian market, as you might expect. Just under half of them were sold to the international market, which I think demonstrates that those smaller capacity motorcycles, especially the 350 class, is becoming very popular worldwide. Now, okay, this channel is a Royal Enfield rich channel, and yeah, I'm a self-professed Royal Enfield fan. I'll put my hand up to that, I've never made a secret of it. But I get comments from people that watch this channel every day. Comments like, Royal Enfield is killing it. Royal Enfield just doesn't seem to be able to put a foot wrong at the moment. They're obviously doing something very right, because viewers in general just seem to love absolutely everything Royal Enfield do, and I never thought I would hear myself say that 5 years ago. I think it's quite well known within the Royal Enfield community that Royal Enfield does have a lot of other models due to be unveiled over the next 2 years. I think we would have seen them earlier if it wasn't for the pandemic. And when I say a lot of other models, that's a 2-figure sum. Or at least it's a 2-figure sum that's been sort of mentioned frequently. Now, I do get some comments, which I hope are tongue-in-cheek, quite frequently, that Royal Enfield is messing with people's mental health and causing problems in domestic relationships. Because, and I fully understand this after riding the Hunter for a couple of weeks, it's very difficult to choose a particular model from their range as it is. The amount of comments that I get from people that have just bought a motorcycle from Royal Enfield, and now that they think they've made a mistake because they've now just released another motorcycle which they think maybe they like better, but they can't have 2 bikes, what do they do? And the others that have been deliberating for months over a particular motorcycle, they're about ready to push the button on it, and then, you know, Royal Enfield puts a spanner in the works by bringing something even more delectable out. I've been in the motorcycle world for a number of decades now, and I've never known a brand that can have that effect on customers. It's usually very easy to choose one particular model from a range and be happy with that choice. I mean, I fully understand this. I didn't like the Meteor 350 at all until I rode it, and then I seriously considered getting one. Then they brought the Classic out and I decided that was the bike for me. I bought the Classic and then I tested the Hunter. And I'm not saying I'm going to, but there have been several times over the last 2 weeks where I've been thinking, should I get rid of something in my garage and get one of these? And that's without mentioning the Scram 411, which had a very similar effect on me. In fact, I still haven't quite got that one out of my system yet. Now, I doubt very much that Siddhartha Lal will watch this video, but if he does, Sid, and I hope you don't mind me calling you Sid, stop it. It's irresponsible. You can't keep messing with people's minds by producing fantastic motorcycles at an affordable price. It's just not on. It's not big and it's not clever. Well, not until I get a bigger garage anyway. Right, so the EICMA in Milan. I told you about the Super Meteor on Tuesday, but what else has Royal Enfield been up to? First of all, the Himalayan has had a slight refresh. Royal Enfield are now including a USB 2 type port on the bike, which brings it in line with the 350cc models, and I think the Scram, for better connectivity for riders, whatever that means. Other than that, with this model, we're just looking at a refresh in colours, apparently inspired by the colour palette of their namesake, the Himalayas. Now, of course, rumours have abounded over the last year or so about a new 450 version with a completely new liquid-cooled motor. Now, this sort of colour refresh does seem a little bit half-hearted, I've got to admit, and it does lead me to believe that perhaps that legendary sort of fabled model is perhaps imminent over the next 12 months or so. I don't have any inside knowledge on that, that's purely my theory. Although, to be honest, I did find the standard Himalayan to be a thoroughly pleasant little bike to ride. It's immensely popular. I see more of these on the road than any other Royal Enfield, to be honest. So it would be nice, if they do bring a new version out, if they would keep the classic version for a while, because I think it would be sorely missed. Anyway, if you're in the market for the current Himalayan, I would expect this colour refresh and USB edition to be available in the first quarter of next year, and I don't expect that it's going to raise the price in any other way than, you know, the normal annual price increases that we see. Yeah, after years of avoiding this motorcycle, I was very surprised by it. Just goes to show that you shouldn't be put off by uneducated rumour. Now, of course, with the old classic 500 and I think the 350, they had the military versions, and I know a lot of viewers were disappointed by its omission, here in the UK anyway, from the new 350 classic lineup. But I think this is just Sid messing with your heads again, because a limited edition Signals version has been shown in Milan. And guess what? It is going to be available in the UK. Available in two colours, desert sand and marsh grey, which in these photographs looks more like an olive drab to me, but that could just be the photographs. Of course, these military versions are a really important part of Royal Enfield's heritage. Not just because of the part that Royal Enfield played in World War II, but if it wasn't for that huge order for the Indian Army back in the 1950s, I think it's fair to say Royal Enfield probably wouldn't exist now. That aside, something which very much strikes a chord with me, back when I was just a toddler, my dad had an ex-Army World War II Royal Enfield 350, the type with the girder front forks, which he'd bought as army surplus sometime after the war and used it for commuting to work. And it was that bike that raised my interest in motorcycles and my current interest in Royal Enfield motorcycles. And of course, at the beginning of this year, I bought the red and chrome version of this bike, and now they've gone and brought this military version out, which I really like. Thanks, Sid. And interestingly, although I don't have any photographs of them, Royal Enfield are also releasing a related range of apparel and accessories for this motorcycle, to include helmets and jackets, etc., for those who like to, live the lifestyle. Actually, I've just reread the press release. These are not a special edition. From what I can gather, this is going to be a standard range in the 350 Classic lineup. I think that's really going to please some UK fans. The Marsh Grey is definitely my favourite. I mean, just look at them, why wouldn't you? Now, before I go, the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. As we all know, historically, this bike started off as an off-road machine for the American market. Because basically just about everything the British motorcycle industry built back in the 1950s and 1960s was for the US market. Us here in the UK just got whatever was left. Initially, it was sold for off-road use only. It didn't have road kits, you know, no lights, that kind of thing. So it didn't catch on until Royal Enfield started to include, you know, road kits for them, or pre-installed at the point of sale. Now, of course, the current Interceptor is a roadster. It's a road machine only, and it's been one of those things that people have been talking about ever since it was introduced, some 4 years ago. Why are Royal Enfield not building a 650 Interceptor Scrambler? This bike is just screaming for it. Now, back at the NEC Motorcycle Live in 2019, Royal Enfield unveiled a collaboration between themselves and Grand Mal, who turned out a couple of fantastic scramblers based on the Interceptor. I mean, if they'd actually been available for sale at the time, seriously, I would have sold a kidney to get one. I can sort of understand Royal Enfield's hesitancy at bringing out a scrambler version of the Interceptor. I mean, they've got the Himalayan. They perhaps don't want to encroach on that bike's territory. And of course, between now and then, there have been a lot of custom-built scramblers. I mean, they just look fantastic. But no factory scrambler from Royal Enfield. Then, this week at the Milan show, Royal Enfield was showing these off. It's almost like Royal Enfield just want to keep rubbing salt in the wound for all those people that want an Interceptor Scrambler. I mean, this is the Highland Scrambler collaboration. This is a collaboration between Royal Enfield and Harris Performance, using parts from companies such as Brembo and Pirelli, a mouth-watering motorcycle that we can't buy. And then, just to add insult to injury, judging by the stripy shirt and the funny hat, they've given it to a Frenchman to ride. Now, I believe biker B&B were also involved in this collaboration. They are fantastic examples of what can be achieved with a standard 650 Interceptor, some money and the know-how to do it. But they're not, as yet, a factory scrambler. Let's face it, the world does need a Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 factory scrambler. It doesn't have to be as lavish and high spec as what we're seeing here. Royal Enfield fans don't expect that. But I do believe that if Royal Enfield built them, they would sell by the truckload. They would help promote world peace, and they may even reverse climate change. So, if Royal Enfield are watching this video, please just do it. And I think all viewers should leave a comment in the comments section telling Royal Enfield why they should just do it. I'd also like to hear your thoughts as to whether they should make a Hunter 350 Scrambler. Look, that's that castle out of Highlander. Right, that's all I've got time for today. It's been a really busy week with press releases and I need to have a lie down. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this and my other videos, and in doing so helping to support this channel. I really do appreciate it. I would equally appreciate it if you would leave a like on this video, and if you're not a subscriber, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell and ensure that all your notifications are enabled. I will of course be back next week, so until then, have a great weekend. If you're riding, ride carefully, and I'll see you soon.